Welcome to the Truth for Your 20s podcast. Today we're talking about making friends in your 20s. My name is Katie.
And I'm Shayna.
And I'm so excited about this topic.
Yes, it's seriously like such a big topic. I mean, there's so much to unpack here.
Right? And I think that you have so much to add, and hopefully I can add some stuff too. So let's get into it.
Yeah, our second episode ever. Last week we introduced ourselves, and just obviously community is such a big part of everything. And so we thought a whole episode about community and friends.
Yes, and we're looking back, what you guys want to hear about, and this is obviously a very hot topic, and it's so versatile with the decade of your 20s. But anyways, before I get ahead of myself, the 20s, the decade,
the defining decade,
right?
There's so many different stages, and so friendships there's so many different fluctuations and friends for different life things, and so we just want to talk about why it's hard, what's worked for us, and just all the truths for your 20s and friendships.
Okay, so first of all, why it's hard. So this is so real. Now, some people are more naturally extroverted, introverted, whatever. There isn't like a, you are an expert in making friends, you are not, but it does come more natural for some people, right? So, I guess, have you seen, is there anything in particular that you hearing from your friends, like why it's so hard?
I definitely think post-college, obviously first you go to college, you have to make new friends. And then when you graduate, it's like everyone disperses. Some people are getting married, some people are moving cities, some people are going abroad, or like whatever it is. There's different schedules with work, and then it's like you have coworkers, and it's just so much change in your 20s. I think that's a big part about why it's hard. And then also, especially in our age with social media, there's so much comparison. You see so many people on social media having all these friends or doing all this stuff with your friends. So you're comparing yourself to them because it's a highlight reel and you're only seeing the good stuff. And so you are like, oh my gosh, these people have all these friends and I'm just new or whatever. Right. And so there's a lot of reasons why it's definitely hard. And I definitely think another reason it's hard to make friends is you feel like embarrassed or cringe to say, hey, do you want to hang out? Like, remember when we were kids and you just run in your neighbor's house and be like, who wants to play? And they're like, who's this random kid? But then when you're in your 20s and you're post-college and you're like, do I DM someone? Is that weird? But that's how I've met some of my best friends, but we'll get into it.
Oh, it's so true. I remember when we first moved here, I was at a playground and my kid was like, we'll say 7. One of my kids was 7. And this little girl, she just runs up to her, hey, you want to play? What about her? Her sister. You want to play too? It was just like, you are about my size. That's all I need to know. Like, let's be best friends. It's so true. And then we complicate stuff as we get older. And the decade, so many transitions, so many things you said. Okay, so I guess let's talk about maybe, first of all, your college. And we'll kind of go through natural progressions of your 20s. But let me say, first of all, when you're in college, you don't realize it at the time, but it is such a natural time to make friends, and no else in your life do you have clubs and organizations and speakers coming to your campus and all of these things at your fingertips, because when you're in the real world, you have to drive to said location, pay for it, maybe, so many moving parts that take advantage of those opportunities when you're in college. 1,000%. But anyways, speaking of your college, like, sign up for everything, do everything. I don't know, like, being your college age is such a wonderful opportunity to make friends. And it's also practice, right? Because if you're not out there making those opportunities when you are in college, it's going to be significantly harder when you get into the real world. So go to everything when you're in college.
And also, especially your first years of college, like, everyone's there for the first time, new. Yeah. Like, maybe some people know a few people going in, but like, it's not cringe to go up to someone and just like start talking. I remember I met one of my best friends in college because we were just both at like one of those freshman mingle things or whatever.
But
and we both were like,
huge.
oh my gosh, we love this song. And then it was like instant friends.
That's all you need.
Yeah. And so there's so many things in college, but you just have to go to them, go to stuff.
Right. Well, my daughter was talking last night about how she said one of her friends said one of her biggest regrets in high school so far is not making connections, not making a lot of friends. And then, so it was a Thursday. She's like, hey, do you want to go to FCA with me at lunch? No, I don't really want to go. And she was like pulling her hair out. Like, you just said one of your regrets is not making connections, but you don't want to go to the event. Make it make sense. So anyway, similar when it comes to stuff like that in college. Like, you have to as the wise theologian Ariel says, go where the people are.
Yeah, I want to be where the people are. And it's also like repetition of going to these shared community spaces. So in college, yeah, the clubs and everything, and then post-college, it's like coffee shops, gyms, or networking events. I found is a huge one, because at networking events, it's literally designed for you to just go up to random people and start talking.
Yes.
And so I have met some great people at networking events just by going up to people who, look like they're kind of around my age, and, it's natural. It's a place to meet new people. And so networking events is an underrated one that I think you can meet people at.
I have recently joined the chamber where we live, and I'm like, where has this been my whole life? I love it. And you're 1,000% right. I go to those networking events, and that's how I meet community. But I think that we are kind of extroverts, we go up to people, but a lot of people are like, wait, what? How do you even do that? So I love to kind of maybe, what do you say? So maybe icebreakers. And so when you go to a networking event, do you have I'm sure you don't like a go-to, but give us some tips on what things you say when you go to networking events, and then I'll do mine.
I mean, I think one of the easiest ways to insert yourself in a conversation, if there's like a little group around or whatever, well, obviously the easiest is if you see someone who's also by themselves. But if you're like, you've got your eye on like some people you think that might be around your age or whatever, like a natural one, I think, is just coming up and saying like, oh my gosh, I love your shoes, or like giving some kind of compliment, or I just have to ask, where did you get that purse, or, whatever it is. And then just kind of, or see like what they're talking about. And it feels awkward to like, you're like, I don't want to butt in a conversation, but especially at networking events, it's like, that's what you're designed to do. But if you're out at like a restaurant or a bar or a park or something, then still, like, I think always going up with just some kind of compliment or something like that is an easy way to insert yourself into a conversation.
I love that. We are greeters at our church, and I don't remember if this was taught to me or I came up with it, but one thing I always says, I haven't met you yet. My name is Katie. And then, I mean, it's so simple, but it's like, even if you have met and you just can't remember, whatever, like, remind me of your name. I haven't met you yet. My name is Katie. Then it's putting on you, and then they know your name, and then you just, usually the conversation starts to go from there. But one thing that, this is so random, but my dogs taught me this. So we have 2 dogs. One is very friendly, so friendly he actually accidentally pees on most people he meets. And then our other one is like, who are you? Why are you on my lawn? Like, I'll maybe let you pet me, but I gotta think about it first.
Yeah.
Guess who everyone loves? The one who accidentally pees on him.
Yeah.
And we literally have some neighborhood kids who come knock on our door a few times a week. Hey, can Charlie come out and play? Because he just assumes everyone loves him. He's best friends with everyone. And so, as silly as that may sound, like taking on the personality of, like, why wouldn't they want to be friends with you?
Yeah.
Like, let them assume that they're your friends unless they prove otherwise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be like Charlie, Katie's dog.
Just don't pee on people.
Assume everyone likes you. Like, you have to have a certain level of confidence. Like, you can't go in thinking nobody likes me.
Right.
Like, you just have to fake it a little bit, fake your confidence. And there's no reason why these random people who have never met you wouldn't like you.
Of course they would.
But except we're going to think that, but it's not true. You guys, people like you.
Of course they do. Okay. So we kind of talked about like why it's hard, fear of rejection, like just pretend people like you. Yeah. And we talked a little bit about what works for us, but I know we took some notes. So I just want to make sure we dive into all the things that what works for us.
Well, we already went over this secret hack, which is dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, like dog parks, seriously, I just got a dog for the first time ever a couple months ago. So I'm new to the dog world, but I went to a dog, like, Play Wash Pint in Chattanooga, but it's like a dog hangout spot. And then like the people, like everyone's like, oh my gosh, who's dog? And then you just like become friends. It's
true.
Crazy. It's so cool. But dogs are definitely a secret hack because everyone loves coming up to your cute dog.
Obviously. And you have to tell your dog's cute name because I think it's hilarious.
Oh, our dog's name is Mailbox.
Isn't that cute?
And then that's a conversation starter because they're like, why is the name Mailbox?
So
but yeah.
Name your dog something random. I'm just kidding. No, like, but it really is. And I found that to be the case too. Even when walking on my neighborhood, if our dogs start barking at each other or whatever, it's like, oh, yours is cute. Yeah. It's like a whole thing.
Yeah. And I think another big way that we can make friends, especially post-college, is social media, which sounds like, oh, but social media is where I like compare myself to people. But social media is seriously where I've met some of my very best friends. Yeah. And it comes similar to like people sliding into your DMs for a date. It's the same way with friendships. Yeah. Seriously, one of my very best friends I met because we just like started up swiping each other's stories. And then it was like, do you want to hang out one day? Like I can count so many of my close friends have just been meeting through social media, because you can see people like where they live or like what things they like to do. So it's kind of like a profile of like, if you like similar things. And it feels scary to DM someone and ask them to hang out, but it's not. It's just part of, life. And so I think social media is a great one. I've also seen, I think this has become a little more popular on TikTok recently, but people will share like, looking for like literally like, I want to make more friends, but I live in Chattanooga, Tennessee or whatever. And then comments will just be like, oh my gosh, I live there too. Or For You page too local. And then people will start commenting like, hey, I'm 30 in Chattanooga and I want to, hang out too. There's also a ton of friendship groups, especially for girls on social media that I found, whether it's Facebook groups or just, girlfriend making groups. If you just search it on Facebook, there's a bunch for Chattanooga, I know, on Instagram, but a lot of people don't know about them. It's like girl chat or, girls get crafty, or like there's so many, and those events are designed for people to make friends. So
go to the event. Yeah. And Facebook is underrated when it comes to the event page. Like I know Facebook is, the Bulmer, whatever. It doesn't matter. Go to Facebook and look at the events in your town and just show up for something. And then especially I would challenge, like if you find yourself in a new city, you just moved. I did mentoring with a young lady who had graduated college and moved to Chattanooga. And so completely different town, and that's a real stage we need to talk about too, when you first graduate college and maybe move into a new town or something. But she worked the night shift. Most people around her were 20 years older than her. And shocking, she was having trouble making community. And so I challenged her, go to those Facebook groups and go to one event a month and see, make community and make friends. So
yeah, one props to Facebook is there's no other thing that I have found, and I have researched this, that compares to Facebook groups. Like Facebook groups is unmatched because you can find a group of similar interest people and you can post. You can also comment anonymously. You can comment on different posts of people looking for different things. I mean, Facebook groups are an amazing place to meet people with similar interests as you, because there's different niches. Like there's a ton of like girls who hike Tennessee or like whatever, or just like girls in their 20s, insert city name or whatever. Like there's a ton out there and you can just find them on Facebook.
And you got to shout out your Facebook group, the Young Married.
I have a Young Married Wifey's Facebook group, which is one reason I've really found out a lot about Facebook groups. And it's, again, super cool. Like people can post questions anonymously too, and, comment. It's just, you can find community in Facebook groups, whether you live in, you're looking for local Facebook groups where you're actually hanging out in person with people, but there's also so many Facebook groups for just the life stage that you're in. I started the Young Married Wifey's Facebook group, which has over 60,000 people in it now, because people were like, oh yeah, like once you get married, you're entering a new life stage you haven't been before, and you need other people in that life stage, especially like for me, I graduated in May from college and got married in July. So the majority of my friends were not in the same life stage as me. And so it was definitely a transition. And that's like really a big part of friendships, is like navigating those transitions. And I'm not saying you can only be friends with people in your same life stage, because obviously you need friends in all life stages, but you need some people in your same life stage. And so finding those new people is a great place to find on Facebook groups and social media.
Totally. One thing I want to make sure I point out too is that the transition, we talked about so many things. This is such a fun topic to all the different parts. But one thing that's really worked for me is, and this sounds cringe, but we talked about kind of, you have to be intentional, right? Like this isn't something, friendships don't knock on your door. They're not going to come, hey, will you be my best friend? So being intentional. I have notes in my phone of people I like. And I don't know how that sounds, but it's so true. But it is so useful, because literally just last night, I have it, and sometimes it's local people, people who have kids my kids' age. It just depends on the match. But I have a friend who I hardly ever see. She lives in Harrison, which is like 30 minutes away from me. It's a suburb of Chattanooga. Anyways, I want to go see JJ. Shayna and I have a common friend who's speaking at, she's a comedian and she's doing a local thing here in Chattanooga. And I'm like, who can I go with? And I'm like, look at my notes on my phone. Oh, her name's Katie too. Great name. Anyway, so I reached out to Katie. Hey, do you want to go to this with me? And she'd be like, yes, oh my gosh, that sounds great. And I don't get to see her that much. And what a perfect opportunity to make that connection because we can meet up in downtown. Anyways, being intentional about having that notes in your phone. And sometimes it's friends I want to go on a double date with. And sometimes it's single friends. But because I have them all together in that little spot on my phone, it makes it great to like, oh, let me reach out to them and let's make plans.
Yeah. And I also think it's a cool way to just document your life. When I was in middle school and high school, I used to keep a very detailed diary, and I would literally like once a month, I would do like my top 10 friends during that month or whatever, because you fluctuate throughout, different stages or different things that happen. And so now looking back like 10 years later, I love looking at those lists and seeing like how my friendships changed and different things, and people who, were like number 7 and then they move up to number 1. And it's like, oh my gosh, wait, that's like one of my best friends. But the first time they're mentioned, they're down here at like 7, and then you see them like move up or whatever. And I think that's just like a similar way, like just documenting the friends in your life, because a big thing that was really hard for me to learn post-college is like, your friends, you have different friends for different seasons of life. And it doesn't mean like you're losing friends or you have a friendship fallout and then you're no longer friends. It's just like sometimes life stages fluctuate. And that is really hard after you've like just done grade school your whole life and you often have the same friends. And then it's like your best friends, you're like, oh my gosh, I hardly talk to them anymore. But it's not necessarily a bad thing because you had a falling out or anything. It's just because life changes. And also another huge thing you have to learn is different people have different communication styles. And so you need to learn like the people you want to keep in your life, what is their communication style? Because there's some people you have that are a little more high maintenance friendships, which is great. It's just like, you have to text them at least once a week just to kind of stay, close and everything. But then there's some friends where you can just call them after not talking for months and it's like you talked yesterday. And so, or just hang out with. So there's different, like there's your daily friends, there's your weekly friends, your monthly friends, or like the friends you can just call up and it's like no time has passed or anything. So there's different, friendship levels, and then there's different communication. And for me, someone who I really still need to work on this for sure. So I'm preaching to myself, but like, it's hard to communicate. Sometimes like I'll think in my brain, like, oh my gosh, I need to tell this to one of my best friends. And then you just forget to text or you're so busy. And then it's like 3 weeks go by and you're like, oh my gosh, I still haven't texted them this or whatever. And so it's hard to sometimes you just have to be intentional about texting people or calling them randomly or whatever. And you also can't feel bad when your friends don't text you or call you regularly because sometimes they're just going through life. I don't know. I'm just rambling.
No, you're so right. You hit on so many good points, and have it figured out better than you think you do, because on this podcast, and I'll link to some previous older episodes, but I got to interview 2 experts, if you will, on friendship, and they wrote books on it and all the things. And one of the things I remember one of the ladies talking about is levels of friendship. And it's so true. And that's so, so true going up through grade school and college. And no one talks about this. Usually your whole life, you're surrounded by people your own age, where, similar, you're some from the same town. And then you get to this melting pot of whoever it may be, different ages, different beliefs or whatever, and you're like, oh shoot, now it's kind of up to me to make the friendships, and people don't talk about that enough. But anyways, the expert that I'm talking about she really put that into levels of friendship. So your A level friendships are just the people you naturally hang out with. Maybe you have biology class with them, or maybe you take the kids to soccer and you hang out in the same soccer fields, like you're just around them. Maybe your neighbors, maybe you coworkers, like you are naturally around each other, you get along fine, they're your friend. But if one person were to move or whatever, that friendship probably would not stand the test of time. Or if you want it to, it's going to take some intentionality. And that goes to your level B friendship, which is, like you said, reaching out and nurturing and texting and making the dates, and all of that stuff takes work. Again, people aren't going to bang down your door and beg to be your friend.
Yeah, it's a two-way street too. Like I remember feeling discouraged even like last year, just thinking like, oh, my friends, they're not caring that I'm going through this hard thing or whatever. But you have to remember, they don't know you're going through it unless you tell them. Like nobody can read your mind. And also nobody is like necessarily like checking every single day I mean, when you live together, like as roommates, that is a lot easier. And so then when you graduate college and you're living by yourself, or you're living with a husband rather than your best friends, it's like they don't know unless you tell them. So you have to remember it's a two-way street too. And so you can't just get discouraged that no one's checking in the same way, because you're in different life stages now.
1,000%. And one of the other things that stood out to me when interviewing those experts, kind of like what you're talking about here as well, is there was a interesting fact that they studied when the washing machine came out. Women had heightened depression. Mm-hmm. Interesting, right? Wow. But what they found out is that before the washing machines, the women would get together in the river or whatever and wash clothes, and they would spend an hour or longer chit-chatting. How's the family, recipes, yada, yada. And think about, like, even well before that, women collecting water at the well. That was just a natural community, a natural seeing each other. And then when we became more, just living life a little more solo, then we didn't have time to get together by the river and wash our clothes or gather at the well. And women spiked in depression because of that. So interesting tidbits about how we truly do need that community and that sisterhood of people around us. But you got to make it happen if you're not washing your clothes at the river.
It's those shared spaces, because the consistency is what breeds the connection. So it's like we mentioned, those coffee shops, church is a good one, gyms, and like networking nights. And something that I feel like I have just experimented so much with friendships this year, because in 2025, my New Year's resolution was to make a new friend every week.
I love this so much.
Here we are in November now, and I was really good at sticking with this for like months. I met a new friend every Friday, and how I did that was just shared it on social media and said, hey, this is like a resolution of mine. And oh my gosh, you guys, the response was incredible. Just like people saying like, oh my gosh, wait, I want to meet, new friends too. And from that, a big thing I learned is like, not every single person you meet is going to become your instant best friend or whatever. Sure. And it's almost like dating, like you're just meeting new people. And something that's cool is it's almost like playing matchmaker with friends, because I'll meet different people and then I'm like, wait, you would get along so well with the person I met a couple weeks ago or whatever. So that's been really fun. But it's just like a bunch of those saying yeses, and over time, like, you're going to hit, like you're going to find someone and it's going to be cool. But other things that I did this year, just like really just stepping outside my comfort zone and saying yes, is just like, one, putting yourself out there on social media, which feels hard and cringe and embarrassing, but you have to remember, nobody cares. There's no popularity after you leave grad school. Yeah, exactly. That's how we met. And then also I've met definitely people through going to Pure Barre, which is the gym I go to. That's been really cool. Volunteering is a great place to meet people, because, you're like helping animals together, or picking up trash, or serving meals together, which has been cool. And then just going to local events in your area. So finding those on Facebook groups and just really stepping outside your comfort zone.
Yeah. And what I love about you doing that First Friend Friday, you had so many people respond, oh, me too. But you made the space, if you will. Like, you open your doors, hypothetically, to like, let me do this. And so many people want that. They're just scared of doing the event. So if you're brave enough, put that on social media, or have a tailgate party at your house for a game, or have people come over for movie night. Like, you have to be the invitation, because so many people are just like, oh, thank goodness someone else did it. But when you are the one who opens your doors and makes the event, then you'd be surprised how many people are like, oh, thank goodness, I can't wait to come and to be your friend.
And it's the follow-up. So when you are at a networking or a gym or wherever you're in a place where there are potential new friends there, you have to, the easiest thing I think is just get their Instagram handle, or like make sure you find them on social media, and then send a follow-up DM after the event or after the church hangout or after the gym class or whatever. And then it's Instagram stories makes it great, you guys. You can just, it doesn't feel awkward when you're just like, hey, like upswipe their next story and like make a comment about it. Do that a couple times, and then it's like you guys are talking weekly, And so then it's like you might plan to next time go to the same workout class again together or something, and then it leads to coffee after the class or whatever, or you sign up for the next networking event together. So it's really in the follow-up a lot of times, and that's like a hard thing. Like, you go to the event, but then you don't get anybody's Instagram handles or, their Snapchat or their number or whatever. And so the follow-up is definitely a key point to remember next time you're going to an event, is like, let me make sure I can actually find these people afterward, so I'm not having a misconnection or whatever.
That would be such a bummer. It is so similar to dating, like in so many ways, because like you said, you're kind of, not everyone's gonna be a perfect match, and that's okay. And sometimes you're fast friends with someone and you're like, oh my gosh, these are my people. But also something kind of unique to friendships in a kind of a negative way really is in friendships, you don't have a define the relationship talk because it would be weird.
Like, what are we? Are we friends yet? Where am I? Am I on your notes list yet of people I like?
Right.
Am I your 7th best or your 8th
Where do
best
I rank?
friend?
And then even if you walk away, if someone moves, if that friendship kind of fizzles, there's also not a let's break up. Yeah. Right. So it's a more interesting, sometimes maybe even more delicate balance and figuring that out. Now, there's usually not as many feelings either. There's not like, oh my gosh, they ghosted me, I'm going to die. But just something that we don't really talk about, that friendships are unique in that way, in that relationship of similar meeting each other as dating, but then all the other stuff is a little different in some kind of weird ways.
Yeah. And something I love to tell like my 4 younger sisters is like popularity. It seems crazy when you tell a high schooler this, but like popularity doesn't matter after grade school. I mean, it doesn't necessarily matter in grade school. I'm just saying you can tell in grade school, like, oh, they're the popular friend group or like whatever. But so that's what you grow up around. You grow up around thinking like, oh, they're popular and I'm not popular, or like, I want to be in that friend group or whatever. But after school is over, there's no way to tell. You don't just go to a coffee shop and be like, yep, they're popular. Like, it's so different than school. Like none of that matters. And so in high school, when you're feeling like social stress from that, just know it gets better. Like, there's no popularity friend group things. Like, it's just meeting people and hanging out. There's no more popularity contests or anything. So it's really nice.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. And it's so true. I did this recently with one of my daughters. We were looking back at the popular kids when I was in high school, and I graduated in 98, so it's been a minute. But it's so funny to look back and, the people who peak in high school don't always peak in real life. And I think it was eye-opening to her, because you look at those people, oh, wow, they're the greatest, but maybe not in their 40s. They're not so great.
Yeah, it's not like you put on your resume, like, I was homecoming queen in high school. Like, nobody knows. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But I stood on the popular hall with the cool kids in between the periods. That's what we did. We had a popular hall where the cool kids hung out. And it was like, ooh, to hang on the wall. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
Well, like, even like I coach high school lacrosse now, and it's like, even like looking at, you can kind of see like, okay, maybe they're popular or whatever, but like it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. Yeah. So don't stress about that too much. I remember just, you stay up so late and you're so anxious about that kind of stuff. Like, that's the great thing about being done with high school, is like, don't have to worry about that.
And, it's so true that very few of those people in high school, and sometimes in college too, that you'll actually, be in contact with. So just enjoy it. Stages of lives. Yes. So many things. Oh my gosh, we are killing it. This is so many good conversations. And I know you'd be so fun to talk about this. I love that you've done that First Friday friend thing.
I think New Friend Friday series.
New Friend Friday. It's such a fun title. And just, the way that we connected through DMs, like just open to, let's just meet. Let's just find out where this could go, where relationships could go. And it's so fun to just go out there and find your people. You got to find your people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I will say something that we have been going through in my small group at church. We've been talking about Acts and like the early church. But there's so many different ways they demonstrate Christian community. So an exercise we did recently that I think is really helpful is there are 3 kind of categories where you can place your friends. There's your friends who are celebrating highs and like going through awesome things, or that are going through it, like they're in the lows. And then there's the transitional period. So especially in your 20s, like moving, graduating, found out you're pregnant, you're getting married or whatever, starting a new job is a huge one. And so it's like you can list different people that are going through those things, and it's really important to be there for people in all 3 of those stages, not just like celebrating them in the highs, but like being there for people in the lows. And sometimes that just means showing up, and you don't even have to talk, just like, like, hey, like showing up and bringing them a coffee, or making a meal for them when they just had a baby, or like whatever it is. There's different ways you can celebrate people. And I also think it's so cool to, like, when we did this exercise, most of us couldn't name a lot of people we knew celebrating highs, because it's just like everyone's going through it right now, which is interesting. So when there are those highs and you see people, a lot of times you post your highs on social media. So when you see that, like, text someone, be like, oh my gosh, I saw you just won this award, or you just found out you're pregnant, or like whatever, and like celebrating them. And then also, you know, being there for people in the lows is like a lot comes with just simple texts and things like that. But it'd be cool, like if you are listening to this and like you have a paper or a notes app or whatever, like write down your friends. And if you don't know where your friend is, which category, maybe text them and just be like, hey,
I was listening to this podcast. You should listen to it too.
Yeah, send it to them.
It's got straight for your 20s. No, that's such good advice. And I didn't realize when we were in our young 20s, my husband and I, well, we got married when I was 24, so 20-ish. But anyways, how we had a church that did this really well. And I guess I kind of took it for granted. I didn't realize how, you know, just beautiful that was at the time. But there were several of us that got married in the same time, had babies around the same time. And we would, anytime there was a new mom, a new birth, like girls would go in and clean their home for them. We would bake meals, you know, so much community done. And then when the babies were there and they're toddling around, you know, bring them on to my house on Tuesday. You guys go grocery shopping and do what you need to do. And then, you know, it'll be another house on the next Tuesday. It was community at its finest. And I didn't realize what a blessing that was at the time. And now it's such a gift that I get to pay that forward, because we have a neighbor who is going to have 5 children, 7 and under.
That's a lot.
Twins are in that mix. But anyway, she has her hands full, to say the least. But I'm so burdened in a good way to like just help them. And now we have teenage daughters, and I'm like, let us babysit, let us run the errands, let us do this. And I think she's kind of like, you know, why are you doing this? And I'm like, because it was done for me, and I want to do that, and I want to pay it forward. And they're so sweet. We love them. But that is the beautiful just idea of like real life Acts Church.
A lot of people want the village, but you can't have a village unless you're part of a village, you know? Right. So you have to be part of a village to get a village, if that makes sense. Because it takes a village, especially when you're going through those lows and those transitional moments. So definitely you got to show up for people too. And it's a two-way street. And that's something I really struggle with as someone in her 20s. Like, it's hard to like get out of that selfish zone and like just be there for people. But, you know, it's something we could all work on for sure.
Yeah. And it's not modeled that much for us. One of my favorite quotes is, you can't be what you can't see. So how would you even know that that is an idea of an Acts Church if you haven't seen it? And so sometimes you have to be the first person. Hey, I just noticed that so-and-so just had a baby. Why don't we get together and do this? And no one's going to say no to having their house cleaned.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, any other last minute truths for your friendships?
I mean, we covered so many things. I love this topic. I knew we would have plenty to say. I do think it'd be fun to have a little like throwback if you could tell your younger self something about friendship. Now, we obviously talked about a lot of stuff, but do you have like a takeaway?
Yes. Pray for your friendships just like you want to pray for opportunities to come to you. You know, and you can get specific with your prayers. I had like a really beautiful moment a couple months ago where I was at a networking event and met this girl, and we were talking about how we're both oldest sisters and blah, blah, blah. And afterward, she was like, I seriously prayed to God the other week to give me someone else who was an oldest sister friend. And it was really cool because it was like a very specific request. She just wanted someone, you know, who could relate, you know, oldest sisters anyway. And it was so cool. Like, she prayed that specific prayer, and then like we met. And so it's really cool. I think, you know, God does hear your prayers, but also you have to be a friend, like be the friend that you're praying for. You have to show up for that too. And the other thing I wish I could tell myself when I was beginning my 20s is it's normal for friendships to ebb and flow. Sometimes God removes people in your life to make space for new ones. And it doesn't mean like you had a friendship falling out. Right. It doesn't mean you have to lose friends necessarily, but sometimes there's just different people for different stages of life. And that's just how it is. And it doesn't mean you're a bad friend or you're losing friends or anything, but there's different people for different stages of life. Also, one more quick thing is something that I think is so huge is like, especially if you're busy or something, I have this friend who will just like send videos, just like, you know, like, hey, I just saw you're doing this, or like, I'm thinking of you or whatever. And it's just so cool. Like, just, you feel special. Like, oh my gosh, she's naming me by name. She just sent me like a 10-second video on her way to get coffee or whatever. But like,
of her talking,
yeah,
like a Marco Polo?
Yeah, okay. Like a Marco Polo. Yeah, exactly. Or like a Snapchat or whatever.
Yeah,
so voice memos or just sending videos when you have 10 seconds.
You know, I'm the voice memo queen. I love me a voice memo.
You do.
And you do add the more of that, like, the inflection of your voice. There is studies about that because text is great, but you lose a lot of the tone and all that kind of stuff. So it's good stuff.
And what's your last minute or last thing you wish you could tell yourself?
Well,
in your
everything you
20s?
said is so good. The only thing I would add is just be the invite. Like we kind of talked about, you have to sometimes just look on your calendar and today I'm going to plan an event. Or just plan to do the First Friend Friday. I could call it First Friend Friday. New Friend Friday. Sometimes you just have to do the work to make it happen. And I think that just being intentional about those things, because you have to do the work, and it's so cool though when you can see the rewards of that. And like you said, that girl, she specifically got to answer her prayer, but she also went to the event, so like it's both and so it's good stuff.
Yeah. Well, get ready for next time because we have another great topic.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And I'm so excited that we have so many things happening. Like we've been Googling like popular topics, what we've liked in the past. And so I'm just excited. But next time we're talking about meeting your person and what that looked like for us.
Yeah. So make sure to follow along with the podcast and subscribe.
Yes. Subscribe and make sure you check us out on Spotify. I would love it if you leave a review. That way we can get some feedback. And subscribe, share, like you said, so you can send a video to a friend like, hey, this podcast was awesome for me, and I would love for you to share it with you. And then make sure you follow. We have a new Instagram page.
Yes. And it will be linked in the description.
Yes.
The Truth for Your 20s podcast.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being here. I hope that you enjoyed another episode. Thank you for letting us be a part of your week.
And we'll see you next time.
Over and out.
Bye. That one was longer. How long was that?